What was the most healing part of writing this book for you?
Wow, I never thought of that. And I don't know if anything was particularly healing for me. And that is because I was not in the very beginning of my grief when I started this.
Mm.
I was 7 years into a very proactive, intentional leaning into my grief place. So this book was not about my healing. I feel like this book was more about me trying to listen to the direction that God was calling me into, what the next evolution of thing that I have been doing supporting the bereaved. But I can see if it was earlier on in my process
Mm.
that healing would have been part of that. But I cannot say that anything about this created a healing space for me or something that was needing to be healed.
Yeah.
Tons of journaling, tons of therapy, tons of talking and sharing my story. So I feel like this came from a place of where I was in coming to peace or coming to terms with it. I have a challenge with people for me to say I accept. Accept is like I accept an award, accept something that I wanted. I accepted to mark that. No, but I
No.
have come to terms with the reality of it. So I don't know if there was a healing that needed to be
Hmm.
done in the book and the writing, but that is a fair question.
And how do you find love after grief?
Girl, first of all, the first place to find love is for myself.
Mm.
The first place was to say, Tina, you met Mark like when you were 18. Now you are 51 when he passed.
Wow.
Okay, I don't know, but the 18-year-old version of me is not the 51-year-old version of
Yeah.
me than when Mark died. So first of all, I need to go, what do I like? And I remember coming home one day and opening the refrigerator. At this point, Mark had passed. Both of the children were now out in the military living their life. And I was like, I don't like anything in that refrigerator. I cleaned everything out. There was so much stuff in the pantries. My next
Mm.
door neighbor had a couple of children. I took everything over there and I was like, I'm going to the grocery store to find out what I like. Now I was holding on to that shopping cart and there were tears because I did not
Mm.
want to be there. And so I went, but it was like, but I need to. And I found I don't like grape jelly. I like orange marmalade. I have been eating those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because Mark and those kids like that. And I just started discovering, what do I like? I remember my daughter coming home one time on leave and she came in the house. She was like, what is that smell? I was like, candles. She's like, I didn't know you like burning candles. Well, her dad didn't. My husband didn't. And you
Mm.
know, in a marriage, there's a little bit of give and take. It's not going to always
Always.
be my way.
Yeah.
But I remember going, if I'm here, this is my home. It's going to be the way that I want. I remember going in the different rooms of the house and what was my son's room, changing that around and making it a guest room because different people were visiting. And I just need to move one thing from another. And I just started creating a space in my home that reflected me. Because I remember thinking one night, like, Mark died, the kids are living their life, and I'm here alone. And it just felt like a shell of the place that was so vibrant and so much love. And it was because everything was still set up for the family that no longer lived in that home.
Mm.
And one of the things I did, my husband had a recliner. I took that and moved it to the basement because when I came in the house, I saw his recliner in the front room and just get so frustrated because he's not going to sit in that recliner.
Yeah.
Wasn't ready to get rid of it, but moving it to a different space allowed the neurological part of my brain to start processing a different pattern because part of grief is how we feel mentally and the prefrontal cortex not operating to the same
Mm.
capacity in our amygdala now operating that fight and flight mode.
Yeah.
And so those first parts of loving me was crucial. And then I got to a place I was like, huh, I think I could consider someone else, doing life with me and what that would look like. But the
Mm.
first part was me loving Tina and rediscovering who I was at this point, and then coming to the place that I was open to someone else.